miles between us. It's clear they aren't in the immediate neighborhood. Either your information is wrong, or they decided not to stay and went on. In my view, it would be a waste of time to go on searching the way we did today. Coco laid down the compasses he was using. Then what do you suggest? Well, it seems to me we could cover a lot of the district pretty quickly from the air, and well enough. You can bet your life that anyone who hears an aircraft engine is going to turn out to make a sign of some kind. Coco shook his head. Now, why didn't we think of that before? It ought to be a helicopter, of course, but where do we get one?
Hey, you guys, also Sean here, and I'm here to do a cartoon of Jay-Z. It's an old picture of Jay-Z, too. I mean, I've been studying my Korean all afternoon. I hit the #1 spot, and then I said if I take a break for like at least 5 minutes, somebody knocked me out of my #1 spot, then I had to go back and start it again to get back into the #1 spot. It's just so hard. But hey, you know, I guess it keeps you motivated, I guess. Yeah.
End of disc 6.
Huh?
Disc 7.
Well, he ain't saying nothing, so.
The radio man was as good as his word. He seemed to have complete confidence that his instinct for mechanism would not let him down. After practicing for half an hour, he took the helicopter off.
What do you say?
For 4 days, the machine hovered around in widening
I mean, I
circles.
keep getting pushed back. It's like, yeah, dog.
On the other 2, I replaced him. In all, we discovered 10 little groups of people. None of them knew anything of the Beadley party, and none of them contained Gisela. As we found each lot, we landed. Usually they were in 2s and 3s. The largest was 7. They would greet us in hopeful excitement, but soon when they found that we represented only a group similar to their own, and were not the spearhead of a rescue party on the grand scale, their interest would lapse. We could offer them little that they had not got already. Some of them became irrationally abusive and threatening in their disappointment, but most simply dropped back into despondency. As a rule, they showed little wish to join up with other parties, and were inclined rather to lay hands on what they could.
I'm gonna try to get some sleep after I finish doing this. Hopefully it come out right, because I'm not gonna lie, studying, it made me so tired and sleepy. This might not even come out right, because I'm so tired and sleepy, but I'm trying. Shoot, you know, I just found a way to sneak it back on there.
Nevertheless, and in spite of this Micawber fixation on American fairy godmothers, we left each party with a map showing them the approximate positions of groups we had already discovered, in case they should change their minds and think about getting together for self-help. As a task, the flights were far from enjoyable, but at least they were to be preferred to lonely scouting on the ground. However, at the end of the fruitless 4th day, it was decided to abandon the search. At least, that was what the rest of them decided. I did not feel the same way about it. My quest was personal. Theirs was not. Whoever they found now or eventually would be strangers to them. I was searching for Beadley's party as a means, not an end in itself. If I should find them and discover that Gisela was not with them, then I should go on searching. But I could not expect the rest to devote any more time to searching purely on my behalf. Curiously, I realized that in all this I had met no other person who was searching for someone else. Every one of them had been, save for the accident of Stephen and his girlfriend, snapped clean away from friends or relatives to link him with the past, and was beginning a new life with people who were strangers.
No, there was a little boy that was abandoned in Goodwill store in Memphis. Showed up on my mama's phone. That was kind of sad. You know, why you going to abandon it? You can't just call social service and tell them you don't want your baby no more. Why you gotta leave your baby somewhere? You know, the boy 2 years old. They trying to get as much information as they can out of him. They really, you know, but they say he too. And you know, he don't, I guess, don't know much words. They left a note on the boy, his name, age, and all that stuff, and
Try to imagine a world
a
in which there
bag of
aren't any
clothes so he
Americans
could change
anywhere.
his clothes.
The girl stared at him. But there must be, she said.
But it's
Coco
kind of
sighed
sad,
sadly. He turned his attention to the radio.
really sad.
There won't always be those stores. The way I see it, we've been given a flying start in a new kind of world. We're endowed with a capital of enough of everything to begin with. But that isn't going to last forever. We couldn't eat up all the stuff that's there for the taking, not in generations. If it would keep. But it isn't going to keep. A lot of it's going to go bad pretty rapidly. And not only food, everything is going, more slowly but quite surely, to drop in pieces. If we want fresh stuff to eat next year, we shall have to grow it ourselves. And it may seem a long way off now, but there's going to come a time when we shall have to grow everything ourselves. There'll come a time, too, when all the tractors are worn out or rusted, and there's no more petrol to run them anyway. When we'll come right down to nature and bless horses. If we've got them. This is a pause. Just a heaven-sent pause while we get over the first shock and start to collect ourselves, but it's no more than a pause. Later, we'll have to plough. Still later, we'll have to learn how to make plough shares. Later than that, we'll have to learn how to smelt iron to make the shares. What we are on now is a road that will take us back and back.
Let's try to make
until we
jigger.
can, if we can, make good all that we wear out. Not until then shall we be able to stop ourselves on the trail that's leading down to savagery. But once we can do that, then maybe we'll begin to crawl slowly up again.
Let me put this white on him first. Be careful with the white, because the white does smudge, so be careful with it.
The most valuable part of our flying start is knowledge. That's the shortcut to save us starting where our
I
ancestors
just got a
did.
notification that the weekend uploaded a video. Blinking lights, iHeartRadio, Jingle Bells live performance. I'll check that out later.
The thing you have to use knowledge is leisure. Where everybody has to work hard just to get a living and there is no leisure to think, knowledge stagnates and people with it. The thinking has to be done largely by people who are not directly productive, by people who appear to be living almost entirely on the work of others, but are, in fact, a long-term investment. Learning grew up in the cities and in great institutions. It was the labour of the countryside that supported them. Do you agree with that? Stephen knitted his brows. More or less, but I don't see what you're getting at. Is this the economic size? A community of our present size cannot hope to do more than exist and decline. If we stay here as we are now, just 10 of us now.
Okay, so I got the white down. Guess I go over with the toasted toffee. The white that I used was the premier color white, and now using the crazy I toasted toffee.
To make any use at all of the knowledge in the libraries, we must have the teacher, the doctor, and the leader.
I'm just lightly gliding it onto his face. I'm not gonna do any type of shading yet.
After a pause. I've been thinking of that place Bill and I saw at Tyneshaw. We told you about it. The woman who's tried to run it wanted help, and she wanted it badly. She has about 50 or 60 people on her hands, and a dozen or so of them able to see. That way, she can't do it. She knows she can't, but she wasn't going to admit it to us. She wasn't going to put herself in our debt by asking us to stay. But she'd be very glad if we were to go back there after all and ask to be admitted. Good Lord, I said. You don't think she deliberately put us on the wrong track? I don't know. I might be doing her an injustice,
Since I did that, I am going to
a single sign of Beatley and Co, isn't it? Anyhow,
the crazy art yellow, but going with lightly go across it. Then after the light, putting on lightly, we go come back with the crazy art, toasted toffee, and go try digging in it.
Which should not take a lot of putting in order. It is practically self-contained but could be extended if necessary. This place would cost a lot more labour to start than to work. More important, it is big enough to afford time for teaching. Teaching both the present blind there and the sighted children they'll have later on. I believe it can be done, and I'll do my best to do it, and if the haughty Miss Durrant can't take it, she can go and jump in the river. Now, the point is this. wings.
Okay, so now I can get
And we're
my
creating a community that's going to grow and make a damn good
toasted
attempt to hold
toffee.
its own. The alternative is to stay in a small party which is going to decline and get more desperately lonely as time goes on. So, how about it? There was some debate and inquiry for details, but not much doubt. Those of us who had been out on the search had a glimpse of the awful loneliness that might come. No one was attached to the present house. It had been chosen for its defensible qualities, and had little more to commend it. Most of them could feel the impression of isolation growing round them already. The thought of wider and more varied company was in itself attractive. The end of an hour found the discussion dealing with questions of transport and details of the removal, and the decision to adopt Coca's suggestion had more or less made itself. Only Stephen's girlfriend was doubtful. This place, Tynesham, is pretty much off the map, she asked uneasily. Don't you worry, Coca reassured her. It's marked on all the best American maps.
Shut my hands.
It was sometime in the early hours of the following morning that I knew I was not going to Tynesham with the rest. Later, perhaps I would, but not yet. My first inclination had been to accompany them, if only for the purpose of choking the truth out of Miss Durrant regarding the Beatley party's destination. But then I had to make again the disturbing admission that I did not know that Josella was with them, and indeed that all the information I had been able to collect so far suggested that she was not. She had pretty certainly not passed through Tynesham. But if she had not gone in search of them, then where had she gone? It was scarcely likely that there had been a second direction in the university building, one that I had missed. And then, as if it had been a flash of light, I recalled the discussion we had had in our commandeered flat. I could see her sitting there in her blue party frock, with the light of the candles catching the diamonds as we talked. What about the Sussex
Try a
Downs?
different picture of him. I think this picture right here too small.
And then I knew what
Okay.
I was to do. I told Coker about it in the morning. He was sympathetic, but obviously anxious not to raise my hopes too much. Okay, you do as you think best, he agreed. I hope. Well, anyway, you know where we are. And you can both come on to Tynesham and help to put that woman through the hoop until she sees sense. That morning, the weather broke. The rain was falling in sheets as I climbed once more into the familiar lorry. Yet I was feeling elated and hopeful. It could have rained 10 times harder without depressing me or altering my plan. Coco came out to see me off.
Oh, shit.
I knew why he made a point of it, for I was aware without his telling me that the memory of his first rash plan and its consequences troubled him. He stood beside the cab with his hair flattened and the water trickling down his neck, and held up his hand. Take it easy, Bill. There aren't any ambulances these days and should prefer you to arrive all in one piece. Good luck. And my apologies for everything to the lady, when you find her. The word was when, but the tone was if. I wished them well at Tynesham. Then I let in the clutch and splashed away down the muddy drive. Chapter 13.
Now I'm just gonna use the crazy opera round.
The morning was infected with minor mishaps. First it was water in the carburetor. Then I contrived to travel a dozen miles north under the impression I was going east. And before I had that fully rectified, I was in trouble with the ignition system on Bleak Upland Road, miles from anywhere. Either these delays or a natural reaction did a lot to spoil the hopeful mood in which I had started. By the time I had the trouble straightened out, it was 1 o'clock, and the day had cleared up. The sun came out. Everything looked bright and refreshed. But even that, and the fact that for the next 20 miles all went smoothly, did not shift the mood of depression that was closing over me again. Now I was really on my own. I could not shut out the sense of loneliness. It came upon me again as it had on that day when we had split up to search for Michael Beatley, only with double the force. Until then, I had always thought of loneliness as something negative, an absence of company, and of course something temporary. That day, I had learned that it was much more. It was something which could press and oppress, could distort the ordinary and play tricks with the mind, something which lurked inimically one as an atom adrift in vastness. And it waited all the time its chance to frighten her, and frightened horribly. That was what loneliness was really trying to do.
Alright, so now I got the Premier Color Black.
To deprive a gregarious
I'm
creature
gonna go
of
over with this, his eyebrows with it.
to outrage its nature. The prisoner and the Cenobite are aware that the herd exists beyond their exile. They are an aspect of it. But when the herd no longer exists, there is for the herd creature no longer entity. He is a part of no whole, a freak without a place. If he cannot hold on to his reason, then he is lost indeed. Most utterly, most fearfully lost, so that he becomes no more than the twitch in the limb of a corpse. It needed far more resistance now than it had before. Only the strength of my hope that I would find companionship at my journey's end kept me from turning back to find relief from the strain in the presence of Poker and the others. The sights which I saw by the way had little or nothing to do with it. Horrible though some of them were, I was hardened to such things.
Get the crazy art. I'll toast the toffee. Lightly go over his hair with it.
Battlefields fades into history. Nor did I any longer see these things as part of a vast, impressive tragedy. My struggle was all a personal conflict with the instincts of my kind. A continual defensive action, with no victory possible.
Okay, so now I'm gonna use my Premier Color Black and go over his hair.
Give myself occupation, I drove faster than I should. In some small town with a forgotten name, I rounded a corner and ran straight into a van which blocked the whole street. Luckily, my own tough lorry suffered no more than scratches, but the two vehicles managed to hitch themselves together with diabolical ingenuity, so that it was an awkward business single-handed and in a confined space to separate them. It was a problem which took me a full hour to solve, and did me good by turning my mind to practical matters. After that, I kept to a more cautious pace, except for a few minutes soon after I entered the New Forest. The cause of that was a glimpse through the trees of a helicopter cruising at no great height. It was set to cross my course somewhere ahead.
I did that.
By ill luck, the trees there
What I'm
grew
gonna
close to
do
the sides of the road
now
and
is
must have
I'm
hit
gonna
almost
put in his
completely in the air.
eyes.
I put on a spurt, but by the time I reached more open ground, the machine was no
With the
more than
Premier
speck
Color
floating away
dark
in the distance to
brown.
the north. Nevertheless, even the sight of it seemed to give me some support. A few miles further on, I ran through a small village which was disposed neatly about a triangular green.
Get
At
the
first
black.
sight, it was as charming in its mixture of thatched and red-tiled cottages with their flowering gardens as something out of a picture book. But I did not look too closely
Let
into
me
the gardens
see.
as I passed.
Now they
Too many
work
of
on
them
his
showed the alien
lips.
shape of a triffid towering incongruously among the flowers. I was almost clear of the place when a small figure bounded out of one of the last garden gates and came running up the road towards me, waving both arms. I pulled up, looking around for triffids in a way
Get
that was
the
becoming instinctive.
Premier Color Peach.
Picked up my gun.
You always want to use peach, okay?
The child was dressed in a
Well,
blue cotton
for
frock,
me,
white socks,
I always
and
want to use
sandals.
peach.
She looked about 9 or 10 years old. A pretty little girl. I could see that,
Yeah.
though her dark brown curls were now uncared for,
Okay.
and her face dirtied with smeared tears. She pulled at my sleeve. Please, please, she said urgently. Please come and see what's happened to Tommy. I stood staring down at her. The awful loneliness of the day lifted. My mind seemed to break out of the case I had made for it. I wanted to pick her up and hold her to me. I could feel tears close behind my eyes. I held up my hand to her, and she took it. Together we walked back to the gate through which she had gone. Tommy's
Okay.
there,
Now let me
she said,
finish it off.
pointing. A little boy about 4 years of age lay
Take
on
the
the flinty
dark
patch of lawn
brown.
between the flower beds. It was quite obvious at a
It's the
glance why he was
Premier
there.
Color dark brown too.
The
Don't
thing hit him, she
make
said.
it big.
It hit him and he fell down,
This,
and it wanted to hit me when I tried to help him. Horrible thing. I looked up and saw the top of the triffid rising above the fence that bordered the garden.
you know, lightly put it
Put your
on.
hands over your ears, I'm going to make a bang, I said. She did so, and I blasted the top of the triffid. Horrible thing, she repeated.
Now I can get my crazy out white and try to smooth everything out
I was
with
about
it.
to assure her that it was when it began to rattle the little sticks against its stem, just as the one at Steeple Honey had done. As then, I gave it the olive barrel to shut it out. Yes, I said. It's dead now. We walked across to the little boy. The scarlet slash of the sting was vivid on his pale cheek. It must have happened some hours before. She knelt beside him. Isn't any good, I told her gently. She looked up, fresh tears in her eyes. Is Tommy dead too? I squatted down beside her and shook my head. I'm afraid he is. After a while she said, poor Tommy. Will we bury him? Like the puppies? Yes, I told her. In all the overwhelming disaster, that was the only grave I dug. It was a very small one. She gathered a little bunch of flowers and laid them on top of it. Then we drove away.
Now go his eyes.
Susan was her name. A long time ago, as it seemed to her, something had happened to her father and mother so that they could not see. Her father had gone out to try and get some help, and he had not come back.
Eyebrows.
Her mother went out later,
Lips.
giving the children strict instructions not to leave the house. She had come back crying. The next day she went out again. This time, she did not come back. The children had eaten what they
Okay,
could
get
find,
that
and then
done
begun to grow
now.
hungry. At last, Susan
Do
was
his
hungry enough
hair.
to disobey instructions and seek help from Mrs. Walton at the shop. The shop itself was open, but Mrs. Walton was not there. No one came when Susan called, so she had decided to take some cakes and biscuits and sweets and tell Mrs. Walton about it later. She had seen some of the things about it as she came back. One of them had struck at her, but it had misjudged her height and the sting had passed over her head.
Alright,
It
now I can
frightened
do
her,
his soup.
and she ran the rest of
He
the way
had
home.
gray soup on.
After that, she
In
had been
this
very careful
picture.
about the things, and on further expeditions had taught Tommy to be careful
Gray
about them too.
soup.
But
Let's
Tommy
see
had been so
something.
little. He had not been able to see the one that was hiding in the next garden when he went out to play that morning. Susan had tried half a dozen
A
times
gray
to get
tie
to
and
him,
a gray suit.
but each time, however careful she was, she had seen the top of the triffid tremble and stir slightly. An hour or so later, I decided it was time to stop for the night. I left her in the truck while I prospected a cottage or two until I found one that was fit, and then we set about getting a meal together. I did not know much of small girls, but this one seemed to be able to dispose of an astonishing quantity of the result.
This is the
Confessing
crazy
while she did so
art
that a
gray
diet consisting
mix.
almost entirely of biscuits, cake, and sweets had proved less completely satisfying than she had expected. After we had cleaned her up a bit, and I, under instruction, had wielded her hairbrush, I began to feel rather pleased with the results. She, for her part, seemed able for a time to forget.
I think this one might actually be too light.
I could understand that. I was feeling exactly the same way myself.
Try
But
warm
not long
gray.
after I had seen her to bed and come
See how
downstairs
this
again,
warm gray
I heard the
does.
sound of sobbing. I went back to her. It's all right, Susan, I said. It's all right. It didn't really hurt poor Tommy, you know. It was so quick.
I forgot something on this picture.
Took her hand. She stopped crying. It wasn't just Tommy, she said. It was after Tommy, when there was nobody at all. I was so frightened. I know, I told her. I do know. I was frightened too. She looked up at me. But you aren't frightened now. No, and you aren't either. So you see, we'll just have to keep together to stop one another being frightened. Yes, she agreed with serious consideration. I think that'll be all right. So we went on to discuss a number of things, until she fell asleep. Where are we going? Susan asked as we started off again the following morning. I said that we were looking for a lady. Where is she? Asked Susan. I wasn't sure of that. When shall we find her? Asked Susan. I was pretty unsatisfactory about that too. Is she a pretty lady? Asked Susan. Yes, I said, bound to be more definite this time. It seemed for some reason to give Susan satisfaction. Good, she remarked approvingly, and we passed to other subjects.
I'm gonna get
Because
that
of her, I tried to skirt the larger
other
towns, but it
grade
was
put
impossible
on
to
here
avoid
too,
many
so just
unpleasant sights in the
so
country.
they can match a lot more.
After a while, I gave up pretending that they did not exist. Susan
Probably a
regarded them with the
darker
same
gray,
detached
really.
interest as she gave them the normal scenery. They did not alarm her, though they puzzled her, and prompted questions. Reflecting that the world in which she was going to grow up would have little use for the over-niceties and euphemisms that I had learned as a child,
Shut my head.
I did my best to treat the various horrors and curiosities in the same objective fashion. That was really very good for me, too. By midday, the clouds had gathered, and the rain began once more. When at 5 o'clock we had pulled up on the road just short of Pulborough, it was still
Well,
pouring.
this is my cartoon picture of
Where do we go
Jigga,
now? Inquired Susan.
Jay-Z.
That, I acknowledged,
And
is just
whoever
the trouble.
watched this video,
It's somewhere over
I
there.
hope you will
I
enjoy
waved my arm towards the misty line of the downs to the south.
like,
I had been trying
leave a
hard to
good
recall just
comment,
what else Josella had said of the place, but I could remember no more than
subscribe,
that the house stood on the north side of the hills.
tell
And I
other
had the impression
people,
that it faced across the low, marshy country that separated them from Pulborough.
and
Now that I had come so far, it seemed a pretty vague instruction.
join in on
The
every
downs
video I
stretched
make.
away for miles to the east.
But you ain't gotta join, but, you know,
Maybe the first thing to do is see if we can
because I
find
was
any
joining
smoke
on
across there,
everybody else's
I
videos.
suggested.
I mean, I watch their
It's awfully
videos.
difficult to see anything at all
If I
in the
don't
rain,
watch it live, I do
Susan
eventually
said,
do
quite
watch it. But
Half an hour later, the rain
yeah,
and
just
lightning
hope you
held off for a
guys
while.
enjoy
We
it.
left the line,
Merry
sat on a wall
Christmas.
side by side.
Jesus love you.
We studied the lower slopes
And
of the hills
Happy New
carefully for some
Year.
time, but neither Susan's sharp eyes nor my field